power, prestige, and public service, British prime ministers have shaped centuries of politics. But behind the grandeur lies a long line of fascinating personalities. From duels to butterflies, pipe smoke to champagne baths, every prime minister left behind a curious quirk. Let's explore one quirky fact about every British prime minister, from the early 1700s right through to today. The first prime minister, Robert Walpole, lived openly with his mistress at 10 Downing Street while still married. A scandal that would raise eyebrows today, but one he navigated with ease in Georgian Britain. The second man to hold the office, Earl of Wilmington, made so little impact that even his contemporaries struggled to remember his tenure. Henry Pelham died at his desk while working, a quiet end for a steady hand during turbulent times. The Duke of Newcastle was known for panicked speeches and erratic mannerisms. Colleagues sometimes left his meetings more confused than enlightened. The Duke of Devonshire avoided nearly all decisions, preferring fox hunts to cabinet discussions. The Earl of Bute, the first Scottish Prime Minister, was physically attacked by a London mob, a harsh welcome to the national stage. George Grenville created the Stamp Act, a tax that inadvertently lit the fuse of the American Revolution. The Marquis of Rockingham was better known for his champion racehorses than his political leadership. William Pitt the Elder, later the Earl of Chatham, refused a peerage for most of his career so he could continue speaking from the Commons. The Duke of Grafton's affair was so public that Londoners saw him visit his mistress during Sunday services. Lord North, nearly blind, delivered speeches with his nose nearly touching the page, yet his wit still won over the Commons. The Earl of Shelburne banned meat from his dinner table long before vegetarianism was fashionable, reportedly for ethical reasons. The Duke of Portland served twice but governed little. He's been called one of the least consequential men to hold the highest office. William Pitt the Younger entered office at just 24 and was known to drink a bottle of port with breakfast. He once delivered a major budget speech completely drunk. Henry Addington, often mocked as the Doctor, was so dull in debate that even allies avoided attending his speeches. Lord Grenville, a scholarly bachelor, reportedly became so absorbed in books he frequently forgot the day of the week. Spencer Perceval made history as the only British Prime Minister to be assassinated, gunned down in the lobby of the Commons by a disgruntled businessman. The Earl of Liverpool rarely smiled and was known for his icy, detached demeanour. George Canning fought a pistol duel with a fellow minister after being insulted in the press. Honour demanded it. Viscount Goderic resigned in tears and was promptly mocked by the press as the blubberer. The Duke of Wellington, hero of Waterloo, once wore a metal-lined hat after being pelted with vegetables by angry citizens. The Earl Grey, whose name now graces a popular tea blend, reportedly didn't like the drink himself. Viscount Melbourne, Queen Victoria's mentor, was rumoured, though never proven, to have had a romantic relationship with her early in her reign. Robert Peel, the man behind the Metropolitan Police, left a lasting linguistic legacy. Officers became known as bobbies in his honour. Lord John Russell, who stood just 5'4", was often mocked in cartoons and speeches as half-a-man Russell, despite playing a major role in reform. The Earl of Aberdeen, known for his cold personality, was nicknamed the Glacier by his own wife. Viscount Palmerston allegedly died during an encounter with a maid, though the official story claimed he passed away at his desk. Benjamin Disraeli dressed like a dandy, wore velvet trousers, and claimed, perhaps jokingly, to descend from Spanish nobility. William Gladstone kept a diary tracking every time he met with or spoke to a sex worker, believing he was saving their souls. The Marquis of Salisbury insisted on handwriting his own foreign policy memos, refusing to delegate even the smallest detail. Arthur Balfour was so obsessed with golf that he missed multiple cabinet meetings during major crises. Henry Campbell Bannerman was the first Prime Minister to die in office at 10 Downing Street. H. Asquith was known for writing flirtatious letters to much younger women, even during wartime. David Lloyd George was obsessed with fast cars and had several long-term mistresses, a lifestyle as fast-paced as his political rise. Andrew Bonar Law, known as the unknown Prime Minister, preferred chess and pipe smoking to the rough and tumble of politics. Stanley Baldwin loved detective fiction and was often spotted reading novels during cabinet meetings. Ramsay MacDonald was so fascinated by astrology that he reportedly consulted horoscopes before key decisions. Neville Chamberlain was a passionate butterfly collector, carefully pinning and labeling specimens in his study. Winston Churchill worked from bed wearing a silk robe and once claimed to bathe in champagne, though it's unclear if he meant it literally. Clement Attlee was so reserved that when someone said, "A period of silence from Mr. Attlee would be welcome," they didn't realize he had just finished speaking. Anthony Eden was voted best dressed man in Britain several times, even as his political reputation suffered. Harold Macmillan once fell off a stage during a speech and carried on without missing a beat. Alec Douglas Home gave up his aristocratic title to sit in the Commons, a rare example of sacrificing rank for public duty. Harold Wilson was rarely seen without his pipe, using it to cultivate a working-class image even as he maneuvered through high politics. Edward Heath was a gifted classical conductor who led orchestras in performances of Beethoven and Elgar. James Callaghan remains the only person ever to hold the UK's 4 top offices: Chancellor, Foreign Secretary, Home Secretary and Prime Minister. Margaret Thatcher got by on just 4 hours of sleep per night and expected her cabinet to do the same. John Major once worked as a bus conductor and grew up in a cramped flat in Brixton. Tony Blair played in a university rock band called Ugly Rumours, and yes, he sang lead vocals. Gordon Brown lost the sight in one eye after a rugby injury in his youth and nearly lost the other. David Cameron once accidentally left his young daughter behind in a pub after Sunday lunch. Theresa May made headlines for her bold fashion choices, especially a signature pair of leopard print heels. Boris Johnson was born in New York and held dual US-UK citizenship until 2016, when he renounced it amid a tax dispute. Liz Truss lasted just 49 days, famously less time than the shelf life of a head of lettuce, as a viral live stream proved. Rishi Sunak once said Yoda was his favorite philosopher. A lifelong Star Wars fan, he keeps memorabilia in his office. Prime ministers may make history, but they also leave behind quirks, contradictions and curiosities. From velvet trousers to jewels, from astrology to champagne, the human side of power is never boring. If you enjoyed this look into the stranger side of British leadership, don't forget to like, subscribe and let us know. Which Prime Minister's quirk surprised you the most?